My name is Kathy McClellan, and I'm the Volunteer and Development Associate with Growing Futures. So what that means to me is that I get to support the staff, but also engage the community and get them together. And I've just been amazed at how many people in the community want to give, how generous our community is. It's a little different for everyone, but mostly what people want to do is contribute. They want to give back. They understand that they've needed help maybe at one time in their lives, but also that they're in a position now where they want to give back and help someone else that might be at that point where they need a little step up.
Talk about Four Sons of Family.
She was amazing. She started, so her child was in the center. She became part of Policy Council and realized through them that there were other ways she could volunteer and give back. So immediately she wanted to help volunteer with some translation and being part of Policy Council. And not only that, she wanted to get her daughter and the rest of her family involved. That, as part of their training, their education, she wanted them to understand where they fit in a community and how you give back. And even when Victoria, her daughter, who is 18 now, she started when she was 14, almost 15. Even when Victoria got a job, Martha said, I still want her to volunteer. She still needs to give back. And I thought, that is just amazing. Everybody could use more money all the time, but for that to be a priority really struck me. Over the course of a year, we have about 330 or 350 volunteers, and they come from all areas. Individual volunteers come once a week and spend an hour or two or three in the classroom supporting the children and teachers. Then we have volunteers that will come once a month, maybe a service group, the Kiwanis and Rotary, Johnson County Young Matrons, just these groups in the community that want to be part of our mission. So, and then in addition to that, we have corporate sponsors who come, also some of them once a month or whenever needed. They'll come as sometimes they call it icebreaker or team building. So a company will come and sometimes they'll paint a room for us, sometimes they'll move furniture. Almost anything we ask for. If we need mulch out on the playground, they'll help with that too. We've got a Rotary group that's going to adopt our parking planters. So volunteers come in all different ways and sizes and from everywhere. There are a couple of ways. A lot of it is word of mouth. So during these, the other group I wanted to mention was high school students, which are some of my favorite. The kids come in and sometimes they're just like, yeah, I gotta be here. By the time they leave, they are hooked, they're connected. So they will often come back as volunteers too. So we have a volunteer site called Volunteer Match that I can put a job description on that website. Then we have people from these community groups that will volunteer, and those are the ways. Sometimes staff have children that want to volunteer too. So those are ways that we find volunteers in the community. There are a couple of reasons it's important. A big part of it is community awareness, so that they know that we're here and they understand our program and what we do. I hear over and over again, people have driven up and down the street here on Santa Fe and not known who we were, or kind of a well-kept secret. So just that community awareness, making people aware how important early education is, in addition to the population that we serve that might, that needs a little head start, that step up. But also, as part of our federal grant, we are required to meet a match. So for every $100 we get from our federal grant, we have to raise about $25. And over the course of a year, that means over $415,000 that we have to raise. And that comes from volunteers. So business partners help in a big way, but also those classroom individual sponsors, those helping out on the playground or on the grounds. The government assigns a dollar amount for those hours that people volunteer, and we're able to apply that towards our grant match. So we get to double dip with our volunteers. I think we help children and families with a head start in that we provide them with a community to be part of, and not just a community here at school, but that the whole community is behind them, kind of rooting for them to be successful. They can get out there and be part of that community that then can come back, just like Martha and her family have done, then come back and help others who are just for this time maybe needing a head start, needing help getting there. Most people I know want to be self-sufficient, and we are their cheerleaders. We're helping them get there from the very beginning. We're working with children to be self-sufficient, handle their own conflicts, handle their own emotions, and then when they get to school and out in the world to be self-sufficient. Yeah, so when people want to volunteer, they can call or they can email at Growing Futures. We do require a lot of our volunteers because we want our children and families to be safe. So our volunteers have to be 14 years old, fill out an application. We require a background check and a health assessment and a TB test. So we understand that that's asking a lot, but it means a lot to us to keep our families safe, to keep the children safe, and to have the volunteers an integral part of our program. Yeah, it really is. Volunteers can do things and make connections with children that sometimes the teachers just don't have time for. If they've got 16 children they have to be looking at, a volunteer can really kind of drill down with a child and be a connection with them and for them. I'm just reminded of one of the high school students that came and played with the kids on the playground. He made such a bond. He found somebody that looked like him, in one of these teens, looked very much like this child. And they played and chased each other and just really, even within that short amount of time, developed a relationship. And then a week later, when another group of teens came, he was going from teen to teen saying, "Are you Toby? Is Toby here?" So they really do make connections with our volunteers, and that helps. That's the basis for those relationships are what help children learn. That's how children learn in relationships. The thing about literacy is that it happens in so many ways. Just talking with children, so having that volunteer that can have an in-depth conversation, asking questions for the child to find words. Often I find too that if a child has asked you a question, they probably know the answer but don't have the confidence to say it. So our volunteers can help them find the words that express what they already know, which is a big part of literacy. Also hearing as much language as they can, as many different words that are outside the norm. You know, most of the time we have conversations, it's using the same words over and over again. If a volunteer comes to read with a child, in the book that they're reading, there are like 3 times more vocabulary words outside of what we use in a normal conversation. So reading with children is an important part of what volunteers can do. So just being there available if the child's ready. Sometimes they're not ready to listen to a story, so I really encourage our volunteers that want to read just to make themselves available in the room. And if the kids want to play and build blocks for a while, they can do that with them too. Still reinforcing the literacy skills, building with blocks, talking about what's high, what's low, what's in and out. So all of that language is important. Helping them make the connection between print and what they see on the page. So volunteers, whether you're reading a book directly with a child, that's not the important part of literacy. It's a whole foundation of language and communication and print awareness and telling stories, talking. Yeah, I could go on about literacy and yeah, it is. But I also have to say this: coming here, I realize how important that social emotional piece is. If children don't have the ability to create relationships, then they're going to be isolated, and so that is critical.
To adults.
It is, and that's what I learned in early childhood, the classes I took, that children learn in relationships. So that's part of why I think volunteers can be so helpful. And it's also what I tell the teachers and the volunteers they need to do is make relationships with each other, because that's how we still learn. And that's what makes us part of a community. Part of my job is also handling donations, and we need lots of donations. So volunteers can help with donation drives. Spread the word if you have someone that wants to spend a little time with children. You know, research is showing that the benefits for the volunteer are as great as they are for the child. So if you know someone that's feeling isolated or wanting to get involved, this is a great way to do it. If you need that connection with children again, this is a great place to do that too. Our teachers and children welcome you.
Walking down the hall.
Yep. It's a great thing, and I just love more than anything to see a volunteer go into a classroom and the kids greet them with, Miss Jenny, I'm so glad you're here, and run up and give them a hug. In fact, there are times that we've had to change volunteer hours so that they come in at a time that they don't need to be attending to something. Yeah. We have a lot of red sauce on Wednesdays, apparently, yes. It gets a little messy. And because of that, now our volunteers, if they've been consistent for a while, they get a Growing Futures t-shirt.